Welcome everyone to Tuesday Night Pau Hana here at First Unitarian Church of Honolulu's online, platform. This is a time of the week when we are delighted when we can have a guest from our community to talk about some of the work they are doing and answer some questions and things like that. And couldn't be more delighted to have one of our oldest and most sort of dedicated justice partners represented today, Faith Action. And their executive director, Ashleigh Loa, is with us. And so we're going to get to know a little more about Faith Action and maybe a little more about Ashleigh, which is great. And welcome, Ashleigh. Do you want to just tell us a little more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you everybody for having me, and thank you, Reverend TJ, for inviting me. So my name is Ashleigh Loa, and I am the Executive Director for Faith Action for Community Equity. But before I go into what Faith Action is currently working on, I'll give you a quick background about myself. I was born and raised in Pearl City. I graduated from Pearl City High School, and I got my degree in business admin from UH West Oahu. My concentration was in econ and finance because I had planned to go into banking and make money. But while I was in college, I worked at a homeless shelter just to get something on my resume. And my main job was to help families find affordable homes for themselves. But after just a few months, something clicked in me, and I realized that this is what I was called to do, which is to help people. So I stayed in the nonprofit world even after I graduated college. One of the biggest struggles I had while working at the homeless shelter was finding affordable housing for the clients, because you know what, it wasn't only homeless families who were looking for affordable housing. It was a majority of us in Hawaii, including myself. I had my first daughter at a very young age. I was only 19. And so I know firsthand what it's like to struggle because of the cost of living. So that's what brought me here to Faith Action. Faith Action is a grassroots, member-driven interfaith organization, and we work to develop homegrown leaders, and we work with them to make improvements in their communities. We have 23 member units, 18 of them are churches, including First Unitarian. And at the core of our work, we address the root causes of social justice issues. In the past, we've worked on immigration, affordable housing, raising the minimum wage. And in one instance, when Bank of Hawaii had planned to shut down their American Samoa branch, Faith Action advocated to keep it open because that was how Samoan families in Hawaii were sending money to their families in Samoa. Another example is in 1999, Faith Action secured $500,000 for the construction of a crosswalk and traffic signal at the intersection of Pali Highway and Jack Lane, because there were a lot of pedestrian fatalities. And in 1996, a few Faith Action members came together and advocated for priority seating on the bus for seniors and the disabled. But my point is that these issues came from our members themselves, which is why this year, one of my huge personal goals is to go back to our members and find out which social justice issues they're concerned about, and what's going on in your immediate communities. Our current active task forces include affordable housing, environmental justice, and long-term care. Our main legislative priority in the Housing Now Task Force is to continue our push for REITs taxation, which we've been working on for the past, I believe, 3 years. And in our long-term care task force, we've been looking at piloting an ibasho site in Hawaii. So ibasho is a Japanese term meaning a place where one feels a sense of belonging and purpose and is accepted as one, as themselves. After the 2011 Japan earthquake, it was the elders of the community who came together to pick up the pieces and rebuild a resilient community. And so that's a huge reason why we're working on this, is because the members of the task force want to change people's mindsets about aging, to see elders as community resources rather than recipients of services. And then in our environmental justice task force, who Matt Geyer is the chair. So I'm hoping that he doesn't mind. Reverend TJ, is it okay if he gives an update on what they're working on?
Yeah, that would be great, Matt. We're about to add you to the spotlight. Prepare yourself. Welcome. Welcome. Do you feel the warmth?
Special. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on top of that, is there a chance I could share my screen for a quick 1-minute video?
Hang on 1 second.
So what Faith Action Environmental Justice Task Force has been working on, well, I should mention the Environmental Justice Task Force was formed almost exactly a year ago, I believe. And we've been trying to get our footing and figure out what we're doing, and we're doing all that in the middle of the pandemic, right? So, but we met a lot, and we thought a lot about what we could do, given everything that's going on, and with the urgency of the climate crisis, as well as the economic impact of the pandemic, both weighing heavily on what we decided to focus on. And so this program called Carbon Cashback is what we focused on for this year. And I'll just play the 1-minute video.
Dealing with climate change is urgent, and everyone has a role to play. Putting a fee on fossil fuels is a highly effective solution. Renewable energy becomes more competitive, and people are encouraged to use less fossil fuels. But how can we do that without increasing financial burden on residents of Hawaii? Hawaii could collect a fee on fossil fuel. The money would then be returned to everyone. You can use the money any way you want. The money could be used to offset any increase in prices. Or if you reduce your use by riding a bike, carpooling, taking the bus, or lots of other ways, you keep more of your money. You are in control of how much money you want to keep. This type of program is called Carbon Fee and Dividend, and Faith Action feels this is the most equitable way to reduce the use of fossil fuels. We want a livable world, and we can make the changes needed to bring climate change under control.
So we decided to focus on that as our legislative priority, and we were a lot more successful than we ever imagined we would be. We got an actual bill drafted. We got it introduced in both the Senate and the House. Unfortunately, that's as far as we got, and the bill has died as far as we know for this session. But still a lot farther than we had planned. We were just hoping to at least get the idea out there to legislatures of the idea of carbon fee and dividend. And so to actually have gotten a bill drafted and introduced was very exciting for us, given that this is our first year. And as far as what we're going to be planning to do this upcoming year, we'll be working on educating and spreading the word as well. Probably, I imagine we will vote again to support carbon cashback again, but anyone is welcome to join our task force. So if you'd like to see it go into a different direction, come join us and we'll see what we can do.
Thank you, Matt.
That's great, Matt. Thank you.
So if anybody has questions for me, then I'm open to answering any questions, but I'm also, Reverend TJ, I'm kind of curious on what you all are working on too. What social justice issues is on your radar, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to learning more.
I've never been interviewed in my own television show before. I don't think I like that very much. No, I'm kidding. But this is our little yeah. I mean, so to answer your question, one of the thrusts for the last few years at the church has been really around racial equity and anti-oppression work and building an anti-racist identity as a church and as individuals. So I think that's been a big part of the work we've been doing together. Then externally, we got really involved in voting around this election. We wrote thousands, I think, of postcards to Georgia and to other and before that to other states in the South, advising people to register, nothing partisan, just to be sure people are registered. So voting is one of the areas, partly because it's something we can do. I think a lot of the pandemic has been a question of what can we do right now? How can we advocate or be effective? And that seemed to be one of like the really effective ways to do that. And we're still writing. We did cards for carbon cashback. We're doing cards for something else right now. Carla is arranging it. She's on the call.
Prisons.
For prisons, yeah, no new prison. That's a big one. So I would say right now, I mean, and a lot of them are wrapped together in the indelible mark of, you know, white supremacy culture on the continent and really on these islands too. And you know, no new prisons and really abolition work of the bail system is something that our Social Justice Council has been pretty focused on. So those are some of the bigger things. But housing has always been at the heart of, I mean, I think housing is one of the things, listen to me just monologue after saying I don't want to be interviewed, but housing is one of the things that touches so many of our actual congregants. You know, affordable housing is, I think, yes, prisons touch the lives of many people we know and love and care about on this island. Yes, the work we're doing toward racial equity and developing an anti-racist identity is hugely important. But I think when you want to take things that are multi-track, yes, these things, and the day-to-day writing checks for food and knowing what we have to pay in rent and affordable housing, I think is really one of those areas that we may not be doing as much as a total community doing it, but it's one of the areas I wonder about because it touches the lives of so many of us. So
right.
Yeah.
Right, there's like that intersectionality of these issues, and I totally get what you're saying, and I'm really excited to hear that you're working on racial justice issues, because, you know, as you were talking about with housing, there are racial undertones to like redlining and stuff like that, and not only that, I kind of wanted to bring it to my experience when I worked at the homeless shelter. A lot of the time when I would, you know, because it was literally my job to help find housing. So I would bring the clients with me, and a lot of the time they would be Micronesian, you know. I'm not kidding. One of the most common question that I got from the very start was, are they on Section 8? And so so to me, it's like, are you just assuming that they're on Section 8 because they're Micronesian? Like, what is it? Because they wouldn't even listen to me when I would say, hey, they are working families. They have jobs, they have savings, and I am working with them. So like I said, like that's kind of why I got involved with Faith Action, was because to create change on a more systemic level where, you know, there needs to be more affordable housing for all. And the lack of affordable housing inventory in Hawaii is terrible. So yeah, so I'm just really excited to hear that you're working on those issues. And, you know, it does tie into housing and everything. But, you know, I've been teaching my daughter about systemic racism. And the reason it came up was because we were watching, I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but the Roger and Hammerstein's version of Cinderella.
Oh yeah.
Of it, right? Like,
my own little corner in my own little chair.
Right. So, you know, you have a white father who plays the king, and then the black mother who plays the queen, and then a Filipino prince. And the Cinderella is black, and the fairy godmother is black. And so
Whitney Houston, but yes.
Exactly.
Any chance I can talk about Whitney Houston, I'm going to do it. So please go ahead.
Right. Like, you know, when I was younger, because it came out when I was younger, and I never like truly appreciated the fact that it was so diverse. But, you know, I look at it now, and I'm trying to teach my daughter about, you know, like about racial justice issues. So I'm so excited to hear that. And I'm also excited to hear that you all are working on prisons, because that's also been something that has come up through our one-on-ones. And as you know, I mean, that's how we learn about the issues in the communities, is through the one-on-ones and listening to everybody. And a lot of people have brought up the issue about the prison system, police accountability, and of course, racial equity. But yeah, so that's exciting.
I mean, I might just offer, having coffee or a chat with Shayna at the ACLU. I don't know if you two have met, but her work on the community outreach for the work on not building a new prison and abolition is pretty outstanding. We had her last week on this, and so I could also send you the link to her the show that she did. And,
I would love that.
Yeah. So that might be a good introduction. She has all of her information, and I put all of her information, all of her contact information on the webpage where the show lives. So you have all that information. But
perfect. Thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, if anybody has questions, then I'm hoping that I can answer that.
We can do a different kind of, so normally I'm very, dictatorial, and I tell everyone, don't ask any questions, just email them to me. But if we want to open it up, and I'm open to adaptation and change, and we can try some actual questions. The one thing, what did you bring up? Oh yeah, I would just say this before, while people are thinking of their questions for Ashleigh, is the other partner, though I don't know if really an official partner, but one of the ways we've really been supporting the Micronesian community lately is with Josie Howard and We Are Oceania. And I always wondered if she has way too much on her plate. So I don't know how she could be a member unit, but I do wonder about approaching Josie, and if you need me to work that somehow, but having a voice, or even just a monthly report, or some kind of delegate from We Are Oceania as part of Faith Action, if we're looking for more work with Micronesian folks and advocating, that might be one thing to consider. So
yeah, that would be great too. I mean, I think what's very impactful, especially at the legislature, is personal stories. Like people who have actually been impacted or who would benefit from the legislation. So I'm always on the lookout for people who have personal stories. But I think that's a great place to start, is with We Are Oceania.
Okay. Good. Well, if people have questions, the room is able to be unmuted. You can ask questions. I know no one's really used to that because they're so used to me just doing everything and watching this like a TV show. So if you don't want to do that, I'm perfectly happy to go back into the TJ show mode and do that. But yeah, if you have questions, or if you want to hear more about something, please unmute yourself and ask it now.
What's happening with the REIT thing?
Oh, I'm very glad you asked. So it actually, we just got word today that it has been referred to finance, and that hearing is on Thursday at 12 p.m. We just sent out an action alert maybe about an hour ago. We definitely need people to submit testimony in support of that bill. So that's HB 286. And yeah, so unfortunately, the REITs taxation bill is dead on both sides. So in the House and the Senate, the bill that would actually have taxed the REITs is dead. The bill that is alive, which is HB 286, that would require real estate investment trusts to report their annual assets and revenue to the Department of Taxation. And that is important. It's a very important first step to actually taxing REITs. And the reason for that is because we hear over and over, right, by this the current administration, that the numbers are all over the place. It's like some people say 20 million, some people say 60 million that it would come in. I mean, that would be collected through taxation of REITs. But the reason we don't have concrete numbers is because the department does not have those numbers. So, if we can pass HB 286, we would have the concrete numbers to go off of and make our argument against on taxing REITs even stronger.
I'm gonna step in for 1 second and tell everyone that there may be one person, if there's even one person in this call who doesn't know what a REIT is, I'm gonna just do a little moment. and say that a REIT is a real estate investment trust, REIT. And it is the kind of thing that holds extremely valuable property, extremely sought after property, is in a sense in a trust. Then it's really a blind trust. We don't know who the actual people are who are part of that trust, who are receiving, for instance, rent at Ala Moana. Ala Moana is owned by a real estate investment trust. It also is, there's Ala Moana for sales per square foot, then everybody else for a mall. Ala Moana, in case people don't know, there's not even a second place. It doesn't exist. There's Ala Moana for sales, then everything else. And so all that money is being paid to a real estate investment trust for rent. So Louis Vuitton, Gucci, all these people are paying their money to a real estate investment trust that nobody knows who is getting that rent, or where they live, or if they're paying any taxes on it or anything like that. And last year, we actually got a taxation on REITs bill passed, and it was vetoed on his way out the door by the brave and courageous Governor Ige. And I hope he watches this and calls me for saying that.
Yes.
And so just to give some background. So now what we're talking about is, instead of that bill, which it died again, probably because why use your political capital if it's just going to be vetoed again, which it more than likely would. So please don't blame the legislature. I mean, you can blame plenty of the legislators if you want. The ones for the church, I believe, are pretty much on board for it. Ono is our representative, and Carl Rhodes is our senator. And then, which, by the way, they respond very quickly when I email them, Ashleigh, if you need me to ever email them.
No.
So now the bill that's there, and I'm sorry if this is pedantic for everyone, but the bill that's there would disclose how much is actually being collected from these things that have been mostly blind until now. Is that a fair history, Ashleigh?
That's way better than what I tried to explain. So thank you.
Okay, great. So
I've heard people in opposition say that, oh, we already report. Why would they say that?
Because it isn't true, and you don't want to have to.
Okay.
That's a very good question, and I really don't know. And that's actually what we keep hearing from the legislators too, that they already report. But I've been told that they don't, and I'm sorry that I don't have the the quick answer for you. But could I ask Catherine? Maybe Catherine might know.
Well, I think what the issue is that with Ala Moana, for example, is that all of their retailers pay GET. And so which is the excise tax, the general excise tax. And so the REIT owners say, well, this is double taxation or triple taxation even, we shouldn't have to pay income tax on what we earn. And so that's why they're fighting it. And we've created such a lot of noise that the National Association of REITs opened an office here in Honolulu just to counteract what it is that we started. So I'm really proud of us.
And Catherine, maybe I could get your opinion on this, but I've seen that the REITs will, I hope they watch this too, really kind of stop at nothing. I have heard things coming out of that office that's here that are just lies. I'm just going to call it like I see it, right?
So what's new about that, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. So.
Yeah, so I haven't heard anything coming out of there, but their executive director is a former friend of ours, so, and I guess she's still a friend, but we're on opposite sides of this issue for sure. And the thing that is so aggravating to me is that prime real estate in Hawaii is owned by these corporations, these trusts that don't pay anything to the state. So lots of the hotels, the new international marketplace, a lot of these self-storage places, a lot of shopping centers, Pearl Ridge, as well as Ala Moana, and then neighbor islands too. So it's kind of like we're just giving ourselves away to the outside world. And, so, it's such a no-brainer to me. But I obviously don't have the same brain as the legislators and Governor Ige.
I just
No,
want to add real quick that, and as more and more businesses realize that there is this loophole that they can avoid paying a lot of their taxes, more and more are going to start doing this, and less money for the state of Hawaii.
Bravo. Absolutely.
There you go.
So I think we'll keep fighting it.
we definitely will. So
Yeah.
if anybody is able to submit testimony in support of HB 286, that would be great. But yeah, I mean, a lot of our members are looking at it from an equity standpoint, right? Because the REITs are like, Catherine was saying too, and the money is being generated in Hawaii, and the recipients of the dividends are paying taxes in their home states, and so Hawaii is not seeing any of the benefits. The money is not staying in Hawaii, so. That's kind of why Faith Action is so strongly for taxation of REITs.
Excellent. Anyone else? Questions for Ashleigh? Priorities? What isn't happening? What we'd like to see happen in the future? I know that's something that Ashleigh's always looking at, is next year or like after this legislative session. Like, what's the next thing? I see some people unmuting. Any other questions?
Well, so one of the, I listened in, I think it was last week when we talked with the ACLU representative, and do you know her, Ashleigh?
Yeah, Sheena,
okay,
yes, I do. I have
Sheena, great, okay. Great. So my thought at the time was that there really are more and more kind of grassroots organizations working on different issues right now. And I'm hoping that you guys start your own group, of executive directors of grassroots organizations so that you can work together more. Because I just thought, like, this is such a missed opportunity. We have the Sierra Club, we have ACLU, we have Faith Action, we have Appleseed, we have this new group called the Sunshine People, or the Sunset or Sunrise or whatever, that we're working on taxing, the rich, and and the raise the minimum wage people. And it's like, the leaders of those groups should really get together and see how you can get all of us members to work harder for everything, because there's just more power in numbers and our goals are not different. So that was the thing that came to me last week when I was listening to her talk and the kinds of things she was doing. And I was thinking, wow, if she got together with Ashleigh and we did, got more people into this, and maybe it doesn't work that way. I don't really know, but that was my thought.
I actually would love that. So, I mean, Catherine, I'm sure you already know, we have like a ton of coalitions, but a lot of the time the people who participate in the coalition is usually just the staff, but I would love to collaborate with other EDs, because I'm like curious to know what they're also experiencing. Because for me, as a first-time ED and transitioning during a pandemic, I was like, wow, this is tough. But I agree, like having that support from other directors would be helpful. So thank you for that, Catherine.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see even just a sharing intelligence of which legislators are moving on what, and what kind of sponsoring versus opposition is happening in the different committees based on some of different people's experiences. I also had this image of just however many of you walking into a hearing kind of united to all give testimony on something that you really could bring together, and just the music playing in the background, something, but yeah, to whatever extent any we can help, we're happy to do that. We're in touch. I mean, just on this call, alone are people working with and in touch with a lot of folks working in those areas. So
I'm kind of curious, what is everybody's backgrounds here? And I'm sorry, TJ, I know this is your show, but
yeah, it's our show. I don't get to do anything. If people want to kind of, we can go into, if you want, I can kind of spotlight folks. And if you want to talk about what you do, actually, if you could use your participation buttons or reaction buttons and raise your hand if you want to kind of share with Ashleigh what your interests are, or things that are that you're working with, or just, you know, that interest you. Maybe we could do it that way. And if no one raises their hand, I'll just start calling on people. So,
Well, there's
see, we're bucking the system here. Okay, I see Marie raising her hand. Marie, do you want to talk about what matters to you?
I can't find the hand button.
That's all right.
Hi, Ashleigh. I was a director of an agency for a long time in Eugene, Oregon. And then what I was for many years is I was an international English teacher. And also what I am is an organizer. And what I find myself doing during the pandemic, interested before, very interested, but doing actually, is I am organizing Safeway. It started with our church, that we were getting Safeway donated bakery goods, and through a process they were going to Aloha Harvest, who of course, you know, delivers them to the homeless. And but they were picking them up at the church. And when the pandemic hit, I had I called Aloha and you know, canceled because we weren't going to the church and they couldn't pick them up. But I hate food waste. I hate it. And so I then started going to Safeway in Kailua and picking it up myself and taking it to IHS until I could figure something else out. And then I finally put together that I now deliver Safeway in Kailua and Hawaii Kai, and I have people helping me from the church, delivering to 2 homeless shelters here on the windward side, and Habilitat Rehab Center. And I'm working on the 3rd Safeway. And today I went to Whole Foods and said, what are you doing with your food?
Wow, that is amazing.
I decided I'm becoming a mini Aloha Harvest.
I love that. I love that. Good for you. That's awesome. I mean, you know, sometimes like organizations, and I'm sure you know too, because you were a director, sometimes organizations just become so overwhelmed that, you know, like the community's response too is very important. So thank you for what you're doing.
Okay.
So, and I say that
Thank
church
you.
is involved because of course I can't do it just under Marie. That's not, so it's, our nonprofit is the church.
I see. I get it. Oh, that's great. So it's under First Unitarian then.
That's what I put when they say, who do you represent? And I, you know, saying me, that doesn't fly so well.
Right. I see. Okay. Awesome. That's great.
And the people that are helping me out are all UU members.
Oh, I love that. You are organizing. Thank you for sharing.
It was funny that one of the Safeways called me, the bakery manager went from one Safeway to another, and I have no clue why she called me, and she said, they're throwing it all away, Marie. She said, could you please help me? And so I organized that Safeway. And it's just, you know that, Ashleigh and Catherine, it's kind of like just what we do, though, some of us. It just falls in our lap and we do it.
Yep.
Then it grows.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's amazing. Wow.
Great. Thanks, Marie.
So can I?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Is there somebody else? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh. All right. So one of the things, I don't need to be the whole thing here. Okay. My offspring has just returned from the mainland, like 11 years on the mainland, and was looking for what they called their people. And their people are Marxists and communists. And they found them. They found a group here called the Corona Care Mutual Aid Society. And this group meets once a week on Friday evenings and has gotten all these donations of toiletry items and granola bars or whatever, and they package them in bags, and then they take them down to Thomas Square on Sunday mornings, and they distribute it. They walk from Thomas Square all the way into Makiki and McCully, and they distribute these things. And they're trying to figure out how to get more people involved and, get the word out. But I just think it's kind of so impressive to me that he found this group in a very short period of time and is so involved with them. And again, that's just one little tiny group, that is doing a thing, and there's the Catholic Workers House at St. Elizabeth's that serves meals every day, I guess, or, has food for people. And that's Wally Inglis's baby. And I mean, it's great that there's so many things going on, and probably it would just just drag it down if you all got together. But anyway, it's nice that there are all these different groups.
Yeah, the Corona Care Mutual Aid Society is if you're Kevin Landers, who is a friend of the congregation, also has his paw in that. So
oh, great.
The Democratic Socialists, the Hawaii Community Bail Fund, mutual aid, are some of the things that have grown up out of the Democratic Socialists, who got kind of mucked up in their own little political stuff, but the people in it have done amazing things, and that's
great.
So.
Okay, very cool.
Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah.
I'm glad Catherine brought up Wally House because so I actually just spoke with Barbara, who is the Catholic worker at Wally House. I spoke with her today, and so Wally House, I think they named it after Wally Inglis. I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with Wally Inglis. So he used to be a regular. He used to regularly attend our meetings, but I haven't seen him in a while, so I hope he's doing well. But they, I think it was every Tuesday, if I remember correctly, they serve meals to the homeless. Barbara washes their clothes, and she created a space in which they can feel, at home. I think she also created like an art space for them because Barbara enjoys art. So she's been doing that. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Catherine. Wally House. So Wally House is really quick. Wally House is behind St. Elizabeth on North King Street, if anybody's familiar with them.
Great.
Actually, it's right behind the little container unit that Faith Action built several years ago now, and took around to all the different churches to show that people could live in a shipping container. And when we were done taking it around, St. Elizabeth kind of commandeered it and has been housing people in it ever since. So, and I also say that the shipping container shelter of IHS out at Sand Island was modeled after Faith Action's shipping container. So we take a lot of credit for that.
Nice. Great. Carla, you got your hand up. You want to tell us what you're getting into these days?
Yeah, well, it came via an email from the ACLU Hawaii because I'm on their email list. And at the end of December, I got this thing about reimagining policing. And because of my interest in anti-racism, I jumped in, and turns out to be a couple young women. And that's how I got involved with Shayna, and side trip. That's how we ended up with Social Justice Council and a principal task force doing the whole No New Jails postcard writing project, which we've actually gotten responses from some people that we sent postcards to. But this reimagining policing, what we're doing, and it's just really a few of us right now, and I'd love to get more people involved, is we're going to the police commission meetings twice a month. We're meeting before those meetings a couple days ahead of time. And right now, we're just learning, like, what the heck is the police commission? How does it operate? Who are the players? But, my whole thing is to eventually be, submitting testimony, asking questions, pushing the envelope. My initial charge that got me interested is that our police chief Ballard made the statement that we don't have to worry about racism in Hawaii, which she said it a little differently, but that's basically what she said. And I think all of us at our church who've been very involved for over 5 years, we all recognize how, our white supremacy and our privilege and all this stuff is impacting and the systemic nature of it, which is embedded in, in policing and embedded. So we're just kind of in this whole learning thing and figuring out, well, what impact could be made via the police commission, because the police commission does the annual review. They're also looking at, well, how might we change the charter of the police commission? I mean, it's just very, I call it beginner, and I'm like a beginner, because I figure this is one of those really long haul sorts of things to be involved with. And so there's that one. And the other thing, Ray Lynn's not here tonight, but she's Justice Counsel. And we've been talking about maybe trying to get together and in our church, get a bunch of testimony writers. I think we have testimony writers. I don't even know how many people in our group actually submit testimony. My TJ does. Carolyn.
My login, right?
Yeah, it's become my morning ritual after my walk is to submit testimony, because I'm trying to make it the most important thing to do before I get distracted. And just with a little bit of training, coaching, maybe a group get together. So that's just something that Raylan and I've talked about trying to put together. We should have been doing it back in November, but we'll get it together. But that's the other thing, is so that we can jump on this testimony writing, because you have a day or 2 days.
Yeah.
So like tomorrow, like tonight, after I get off the call, I got to go submit testimony for 286, so but I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But it just sometimes takes, I don't know, maybe just somebody showing you how to do it. So I don't know, that's just two of the things that we're working on.
Actually, I'm Carla, I think I've heard about you recently. It's so funny because so one of our members, her name is Kathy Lee, and she is working on the on holding HPV accountable, and she's been attending the commission meetings, and she mentioned somebody from First Unitarian, so I'm thinking it's probably you.
Yeah, there's two young gals, her and Jess Hernandez, which are being very generous in teaching this old person.
They're amazing.
What they know. And it's just, it's very inspiring, and we're all learning together. And, I can ask as many dumb questions as I want. And, but, like I said, to me, this is like a long haul project, because it's not going to change overnight. A bill in the legislature isn't going to happen instantly, but I think there's inroads that we can make there, and they're inspiring people. So
which I would love to talk with you, have a one-on-one with you to learn more, because like I was saying earlier, that is an issue that has been coming up with a lot of the members that I've been meeting with. The police accountability thing, and is it Smart Justice? Is that the campaign that Shayna's working on? Is it the Smart Justice campaign?
Smart Justice is Shayna cooling out.
Right. So I'm really excited to learn more, Carla. So if I could maybe connect with you, I'm not sure if I have your email, but I'll type my email into the chat box. So, which kind of brings me to, if anybody is able to, I would love to have, like, even if it's just 30 minutes, just do a one-on-one and learn more about you, and learn about your self-interest, what motivates you, what you're passionate about, just like how Carla was sharing earlier. So thank you so much, Carla.
One thing I learned at the police commission, because they were having this review and talking about all these stats, and HPD was very proud that everybody had gone through this online training, and one of them was implicit bias. And so one of the commissioners asked, well, like, how long are these trainings and whatever? So she said, Chief Ballard said, well, depends on the person, but could be an hour or more. And I'm thinking, an hour online implicit bias training, like that's gonna make any freaking difference? I mean, so that was just something I learned at the, like last week. So, you know, I'm kind of thinking about maybe speaking up, and I don't know, but it's just, it's craziness to me that, I mean, there's so much information out in the world about implicit bias and about racism and all this stuff. And it just feels like the head's in the sand. You know, and we had Justice Stevenson, who, you know, we got to learn a lot from him. And I went back and listened to his Pau Hana to learn again about the police commission. But there are some commissioners asking questions in their nice way. But I think if we had a team of 10, 20 people showing up, you know, sending in questions, well, they call it testimony, but, you know, ahead of time, I think, you know, it's kind of like, hey, you're being watched. We care about the job you're doing. Like, let's push this envelope. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think you'd be a great police commissioner, Carla. Just watch it. Commissioner Carla. Let's do it.
Go.
All in good time. Thank you so much, Carla. That's really great. Kimberly, oh, go ahead, Ashleigh.
Really quick, TJ. So I had a question in the chat about other housing issues that we're working on. So if I could do like maybe 5 minutes on that really quick.
Sure. We have someone coming up right after that. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. So, you know, another issue that we've been working on is figuring out where to build affordable housing. You know, because every time a new like affordable housing project comes up and, you know, it's proposed, neighborhoods will usually be like, no, you know, not here, not in our backyard kind of thing. And so rather than being reactive, we figured that it would be beneficial if we were proactive. And so one of the efforts that we're trying to work on is to work with communities on determining where affordable housing should be. So that would be, you know, working with the churches, working with the neighborhood boards, working with the city council and the state legislators, where in your community is an appropriate place for affordable housing, so that when a proposal comes up, everybody isn't up in arms and saying, no, you know, we don't want this here. So that's one thing that we're working on. Let's see. I think it was Esther. Esther, did that answer your question on, or do you have another question that you wanted to ask?
I just think it's an important issue, and I felt like you maybe got cut off because there are a bunch of important issues, but I just wanted to hear more about it. So thank you for giving that that little extra tidbit. It was worthwhile to me.
Yeah, no, so, you know, if of course we have legislative session going on, and that's kind of been very hectic, but we do hope to have these listening sessions within communities and asking them, okay, where do you think where do you think housing should go, or, you know, that you would be okay with. So that's one. We're also looking at the Aloha Stadium redevelopment. What Faith Action was asking for was for 40 acres to be designated specifically for affordable housing. And, you know, it's along the transit. It's on TOD, it's on the TOD line. So that's another reason we had advocated really hard for that one. But I'm pretty sure that bill is dead. I'm so sorry that I don't remember. I'm pretty sure that's dead. And another one was Aloha Homes, which was Senator Chang's bill that is based on the Singaporean model. But yeah, so that's pretty much what Faith Action is working on legislatively. But the community engagement part for the housing is what I would love to have your input on. But so I'll circle back on that.
Great. We had Kimberly Towler, we're going to add, who wanted to talk a little bit about some of her work with foster care. Hi, Kimberly. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Sorry about that. So it was really a presentation from the University of Hawaii LGBTQ plus folks that got us thinking about what we can do and what, as individually and as a group, to support LGBTQ plus folks in our community. And I instantly thought of the work I'd been doing for 35 years, which was with foster kids. I was their guardian ad litem. I couldn't, anyways, turns out, I found out that Child Protective Services has an LGBTQ group that meets monthly to try to make their system a little more open and friendly. And because of medical reasons, I couldn't attend, but one of our other church members recommended Ken Plonsky, who has jumped in with both feet and is helping the whole group take a look at those sorts of issues. Foster kids that I worked with tend to make up a large part of the homeless community. Mm-hmm. They tend to have a lot of hurts and issues. And our goal, and TJ, stop me if I'm saying this wrong, we're a welcoming community. And even though I personally didn't attend church much after high school until I found the Unitarians, I wanted foster kids and former foster kids to know there's a place they can come if they want. And just my hat's off to Ken for picking up the bar and going forward with it. Thanks, TJ.
I should say, Kimberly, that because of your work, I actually I got a call the end of last week from one of the placement directors that wants to use me individually as a resource for parents dealing with folks, questions of faith where LGBTQIA plus children are concerned. So there's really a growing participation on the part of our community with that kind of involvement. So thank you so much for getting that started. It's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodness, you guys have so many leaders in your church. My gosh, that's amazing, Kimberly. Thank you. Yeah, no. So before I stepped into the role of ED at Faith Action, I was actually brought on board to try to organize the homeless. And one of the issues that kept coming up was the LGBTQ youth had nowhere to go. You know, the reason that they were running away from home was because they didn't feel safe with their families. And then when they would go into shelter, they also didn't feel safe because they were being picked on from the other people that were there. So I think that what you're doing is great, Kimberly. Thank you.
Good. Well, we're getting a little close to time. There's a fly in my house also. There's like a horse fly from like back east. Like I feel like kind of nostalgic. Anyway, I'm sure it will make its way out when it realizes I only have vegan food to eat. So if you have, are there any other, we're at sort of the lightning round. Are there any other questions? Or Ashleigh, do you want to take a little while to kind of close and talk about, maybe summarize what we've done? Or I don't know, how do we want to do this? Anyone else have anything they want to say? That's the first question. I'm going to scan through and just gesticulate wildly if you have something you want to say. I don't see anyone gesticulating. So Ashleigh, I'm going to kick it to you to close with us. Yeah.
No, so, first of all, thank you all so much for giving me your time. And I'm so sorry. I'm really terrible at public speaking. So I apologize.
You absolutely are not, but okay.
So awful. But you know, thank you again. And I had no idea that you all had a justice committee. So I'm really excited to learn more to hear about that. But yeah, again, I think I brought it up when Carlo was on. I would love to have like one-on-ones with you all and get to know you better, learn about your self-interest, what your background is, where you come from, because of, you know, like TJ said, I'm always looking forward and looking ahead to what issues we could be working on, especially around social justice issues. But I will give you a heads up that racial equity has come up a lot, as well as the police accountability part of it. And so, yeah, I mean, again, Faith Action is member driven, and without the members, we would literally be nothing. I would not even have a job. So again, like all of our issues come from our members, with support from staff. And, you know, the point of it too is the empowerment of people and, yeah, you know, building leaders and improving communities. So yeah, that's kind of my thing.
Well, your thing is going great with our congregation. We're so happy to be partnering with you. And as you can see, we're sort of a one-stop shop for all kinds of information about what's going on in the greater Honolulu area and wider. Yeah, if you want to do this quarterly or something like that, we probably should. You know, I mean, I know you like to stay in touch with your member units. And so we can kind of update folks. But yeah, maybe in June or so, we should do this again. Does that sound good?
I would actually love that, because like that's my favorite part about my job. It's my favorite. I don't like, I mean, legislative stuff is part of my job and everything, but I love like connecting with the members and just talking story. So that is my favorite part. And so like I would be happy to come on again in June. So sorry, my neighbors. But yeah, if I could rejoin again in June, that would be great.
I just want to say, if I can, one thing that when Ashleigh was talking about her work at the homeless shelter, she was working with Family Promise. And so we're also very involved with Family Promise, Ashleigh, just so you know.
Oh, I did. Okay. Yeah. So, yep, that's where I used to work. I used to work at Family Promise, and it was really because of my work there that changed the course of my career. You know, I did not want to go into making money and investment banking or anything like that. I really wanted to do better for the community, especially because I have two young girls. And also, I mean, me too, right? I also need affordable housing. I care about the environment. I care about long-term care because, you know, my mom is going to be older one day, and I'm sure I'm going to have to help. So yeah, that's the reason I'm involved. But Family Promise is a great organization. So thank you all for the work that you do at Family Promise.
We just sent Samantha a check. So.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Sometimes we help that way too.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So yeah, I mean, I see it's 7 o'clock. So I mean, my last thing though is please don't forget to submit testimony in support of HB 286, and you can sign up for our mailing list on our website, and then it has all of our, you know, like we get updates and stuff. So yeah.
Is there testimony there? Is there sample testimony to just drop in?
So it actually was in the email that I sent out earlier. Or I can copy him. I mean, I can send it to you. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, yeah. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Thanks everyone. Thanks Ashleigh, and mahalo, and we'll see you soon.